Good morning and welcome to Relationship Wednesday with Coach Ellis.
And Lady D.
And today's day, we spend just a few minutes talking to folks about relationships. Now, those who've been following us know that for years we've done relationships relative single women. We developed this idea, this construct called Relationships Universal Lessonz, or the RULZ. Now, we now are going to talk about rules for married couples. And one of the rules is know your list. And know your list simply means that there are things that you know you must have to help your relationship go forward. There are things that you know that if you have, that will more than likely threaten your relationships. Call this covenant no. Then there are things that combine together help enhance your relationship. This is covenant grow. And the RULZ Revelation for today is, if you know your list, then it's really about the gift and not about the package. Now, the reason it's important for married couples is that our package really was the wedding.
Absolutely.
Okay? And so, no matter how big the wedding was, no matter how much money you spent, no matter how many guests you had, whether you did a destination wedding or small little, the package of the wedding is not nearly as important as the gift of the marriage.
And it could have even have been at the courthouse.
It could have been.
I mean, that doesn't make it any less of a packaging than any of the others.
And so the gift of marriage is really about the relationships you develop within that covenant relationship.
Yes.
So too often we'll say, well, because we don't have enough money, that's packaging. Because we live in the wrong neighborhood, that's packaging. Because you don't have the right job, that's packaging. The gift is we are in relationship and we struggle and we triumph together. And so one of the things, if you understand that, you know what you must have to enhance your relationships, what you must not have to destroy your relationship, and what you want to have in order to build your relationship. And when you do that, then the gift itself is the marriage, not the wedding, not the ceremony, but the relationship and the marriage.
And a lot of times, because we tend to have invested so much into the package, the wedding, we tend to think that we're done with the investment. Well, nay, I say, nay. We have to understand that the wedding was just for a particular date and time. That was an event. The marriage, on the other hand, is a covenant that will last until the covenant is gone. So you have to really learn to appreciate what is in the package. You have some idea while you're planning the wedding because stuff starts to come up. You're planning this wedding, and tempers might flare, or you may have gone to premarital counseling and things.
You discover some things.
Exactly. you discover some things, but the gift is what you discover and uncover as an us. So
within your marriage, there will be ups and downs. And so what happens when you get into financial difficulty? We know that marriages break up primarily for two reasons: money and sex. Yes. What happens if you have difficulty in one or both of those areas? I would suggest to you, as important as they are, the money issues is packaging. Okay? The lessons we learn out of these things and how we learn to navigate this together and how we learn our usness in budgeting and finances in our marriage is the gift. The fact that he's too short or too tall or too big or too small or she is too old or too young or too inexperienced or too experienced, all that's packaging. But the intimacy developed into the act of marriage is the gift. And too often we live in a society where we're so concerned about how things are packaged. But guess what? I got a secret for you. At 20, your package looks a little different than at 50. I ain't saying, I'm just saying. You know, at 20, 25, your packaging's a little different than when you're 55.
Yes, Lord.
And
yes,
so
Lord.
if you learn to appreciate the gifts as your bodies change, as your hair falls out and your eyesight starts failing, you understand that the gift is the relationship and not the packaging. And that, my friends, is how you have a successful, long-term, committed, monogamous relationship within the covenant of marriage. Understand, if you know your list, it's not about the packaging, it's about the gift.
And you can't go into this underestimating. It is a learning process, because you've got two different people coming into this new space. And that new space can be a gift to both. Communication has to happen. Give and take, that has to happen. The two become one. And that means that there's giving from both sides. Everything's coming together so that each of us, the spouse, husband and or wife, can actually appreciate what has been granted them by the connection, so that the us can be born. Us is a pretty fabulous thing.
It's pretty. You know, this past week there's been in the social news this idea that this particular celebrity director who's married to an actress who's put on a considerable amount of weight was found in another country kissing on another woman. And in this dialogue on social media, a lot was said about the idea that this actress picked up a lot of weight and she was no longer appealing to her husband. And the reason that he was able to cheat on her or whatever was because she essentially let herself go. And when I started reading that, I said, what a sad commentary of folks that did not understand packaging versus gift.
Absolutely.
Right?
Absolutely.
Because whether she put on weight or did not put on weight, the gift was supposed to be their covenant relationship and commitment to each other. And so we don't mitigate the idea that, you know, folks want to be appreciated, not just tolerated. But we also want folks to understand that packaging changes. Because guess what? You ain't as good looking today as you was yesterday. And you're not as, you know, you're not as tight, and you're not as strong, and you're not as built up, and you're not as bulky as you were yesterday. So the package changes, but the gift endures. Hey, this is Coach Ellis.
And this is Lady D.
I say thank you for joining us for Relationship Wednesday. We want you to leave your comments or questions below. Hit us on Facebook at Coach Ellis Crum. Shoot us an email at coach@elliscrum.net, or go to our website at www.elliscrum.net. Until next week, have a one-tablets relationship.
Appreciate the gift.
That's right. Appreciate
Wednesday.
the gift. All right. You know, hey, the brain ain't what it used to be, but it's a gift. All right. God bless you. We'll see you next week. Bye-bye.